This episode of Finding Demo Surf Fishing is being brought to you by DS Custom Tackle. Delaware Surf Fishing, that's right. DS Custom. Great stuff, man. dscustomtackle.com. Full website full of great gear and setups. If you need floats, rigs, swivels, well, a whole bunch of the other gear that you might use, yeah, they got you covered. And you can go back on the website, get into the weeds. There's a lot of different things. There's more that I'm not telling you about, but go take a look at the website sometime and you'll see some really good stuff. There's also the capability to be, supplied as a rig maker. It's hard to sometimes get these supplies. Well, they got you covered. Reach on out to them, dscustomtackle.com. Ask them questions. If you got anything you need, ask them. They can probably find it. All right, let's get into this. All right, we're jumping on the plane. That's right. We're going west again, and we're going to Cali. We're actually going somewhere kind of familiar to me, which is really disturbing. So we're going to San Diego area. And for those of you who haven't followed the show, I used to live out in Cali for a very long time. I was stationed out at Camp Pendleton, California from, dear Lord, 2000 until we left in 2017. So San Diego it's a nice place. There's some fun stuff there. And there's some awesome fishing. SoCal has a whole world of itself. And if you haven't been, trust me, when I say SoCal is different than the rest of California, it really is. And today we're going to be talking with WERF TV. If you haven't seen it, WERF.TV on all social media platforms. It'll be tagged back on Finding Demo Surf Fishing. You'll be able to find it. But if you just put that into your search bar, you're going to get plenty. And the great thing is you're going to see who he is. The way you should, because if you saw it any other way, I would be butthurt and I'd be actually a little upset. We were talking about a previous show. So without further ado, Coach, welcome to the show, man.
What's good, my man? What's good?
I love it. So before we even ask questions, I'm going to ask one here because they're, new people are seeing this. Are like, what the hell? What is this? Please explain the mask and how that came about.
So I mean, the real background with the mask was I got skin cancer 12 years ago. I was diagnosed with subdermal. I had subdermal melanoma and nodule. No. It was subdermal carcinoma and nodular melanoma. And they took a row out behind here that were tunneling in towards my spine. I asked everybody that I came in contact with in healthcare, what can I do about this? What do I do? And they said, well, there's really nothing you can do. You can't really protect yourself. The damage is already done. So believe it or not, back when Comfort Overcast was a thing, this was before most of these fishing buff companies existed. I somehow won in a drawing or whatever. I submitted a picture of one of my kids with a spotted bay bass or something, and they gifted me one of these masks. Well, I started wearing it at work. I started wearing it all the time fishing. I started wearing it basically anytime the sun was up, I had the stupid thing on. They took the subdermal counts off my neck, and they ran from the mid 80s and lower 90s down to below 10. So pretty much anytime anyone saw me out in public or out doing anything, I had one of these on. And so it got to the point where it's just kind of iconic for me to wear it. And I've asked the boys at the Mad Max Fishing Club and Submission Fishing Company and some of the other podcasts and the San Diego Fish guys, which is no longer a website, by the way. San Diego SDfish.com is no longer extant. The owner ditched it, and all of us that were on there and had poured all those tens of millions of hours of reports on there, we all got shoved off onto other platforms. It's a long story, not one worth mentioning. But anyways, for a long time, I was a very active member there and gave a lot of advice on everything from fishing micros to swordfish, because I've done it all. And in every single photo, every single video, I was wearing one of these. So it's just kind of become a thing.
Yeah, I noticed it when I started looking you up, because I found out about you through a second friend of yours. And I was going through and I was like, why is he always wearing, like, I mean, I get it. I'm always normally wearing my hoodie when I'm fishing. And I was just like, well, okay, maybe it's something else. But it's become iconic. You are right. So I am glad that I'm glad you did it just for that real fact. We're not reinventing the wheel here. So that's good stuff.
I even asked the Mad Max and on Roman Castro's channel, Fishy Hour, for those of us, for anybody who wants to tune in. Sometimes I'm a contributor on Fishy Hour. I was a contributor on Mondays for, hell, I want to say 2 years. Wow. So anybody who wants my hot take on anything, you can head over there if you want and go check him out. But yeah, I did Mondays on Fishy Hour for a long time, wearing the mask the whole time. And I even asked the Max, I said, most of you have seen me bare-faced. Do you want me to come on here just showing my face? It was unanimous. It was instantaneous. It was no. It was like a huge scrolling of nose down the side. So hell, I guess it's working for me, so I'll keep it.
Yeah, run it. Don't change it. Don't change any of it.
And yes, you can drink through a mask.
You can. And it increases the flavor for later. So that's even better.
Cold filtered, baby, all day.
All right, let's get right into the podcast questions here. We'll start it right off the beginning. Tell us your story and what got you into fishing.
The old man used to take me out. One of my first formative memories was going down behind the Hotel Del Coronado, one of the most iconic hotels in the world, with my father. And I might have even been in diapers in my memory. I'm not 100% sure. And he was catching all these shovel-nosed guitar fish and surf perch, just all kinds of random stuff. My dad was really a bluegill fisherman, kind of a single species guy. That was what he really loved to do. So, one of my first formative memories, one of the first things I can remember in my life, other than my mother and curlers, while I was watching one of the original Godzillas on a little black and white TV, was him catching all those guitar fish and random garbage out of the surf there behind the Hotel Del. So I've got the pedigree, I guess, here in San Diego. So
yeah, and that is a nice place to fish. That is for sure. What type of fishing do you like to do now?
Right now, a number of years ago, I got into a car accident about 14 years ago, and it kind of started the degradation of my spine. So about 5 years ago, it gave out. Until then, I was fishing tuna. When I was a young man, we still had commercial fishing here in San Diego. So I worked tuna, I worked swordfish. I worked down south off Central America on longline. Did a very, very short stint longlining in the Indian Ocean. Surf fished a lot of Florida and a lot of the tropical Atlantic, saw the Caribbean. I've been around. I've seen a fish or two in my time.
Yeah, you have. In the Indian Ocean, if any of you've never really thought about the Indian Ocean because it's way the hell out, there is some serious wave and water action that happens in that damn body of water. Some of the biggest surf I've ever been in was in the middle of the damn Indian Ocean. So yeah, that's one I would never play with lightly.
I remember. So we blew a through bearing, and I had the experience of a lifetime. I got the opportunity to dock in the Christmas Islands.
Oh,
between Australia and Indonesia.
Wow. Okay.
We were confined on ship. We could only fish to feed ourselves. There was like 4 species allowed. I think it was pick-handle barracuda, blue edge jack, or what I call cavalla azul. I don't know the real name for the fish, but the third fish was job fish. And then the fourth one we were allowed to feed ourselves was narrow-barred mackerel. Those were the 4 we were allowed to fish. Hey, narrow-barred mackerel are pretty amazing.
Is it? Okay.
They're a lot more like a wahoo even than a king.
Oh, okay.
So
as soon as you said that, so as soon as I heard mackerel, mackerel's a strong fish. You got to really I enjoy Spanish. I haven't had the others yet, but I was instantly thinking, oh, she's going to be a strong flavor.
I found them very palatable myself. Experience, of course, and taste varies, but yeah, we were allowed those 4 fish to feed ourselves while we were docked there. We blew a through bearing, and I was actually the guy that had to go overboard and plug the hole after we pulled the shaft out. So I had a once in a lifetime fishing a place that 99.9999999% of anglers never see in their lifetime, no matter how wealthy they are or not. As a protectorate of the Australian government, and they had the gunship on us too while we were there. So if we disobeyed the rules, they were in a hole us. But Yeah, that was my introduction to the Indian Ocean. That and the 150-foot waves that didn't move. That was wild.
Yeah. It's real, ladies and gentlemen. Seriously, the Indian Ocean it's a different beast. It really is.
I had never seen a wave that didn't move before. So I guess where the current dumps out of the South China Sea and where it circles around the north side of Australia, I guess it pushes the water up into these standing waves that don't hardly move. That was wild. I had never seen that, and it's my understanding that doesn't happen real often. And, you know, I say 150 feet. Maybe they were only 90 or something. I don't know, but it looked like a mountain for us.
Giant. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. I mean, we ran through in a storm. And granted, I was in a warship. I was on a LPD. And, you know, they normally tell us, hey, 30 feet's about what we like to maximum play with. And we're playing a little bit bigger boy leagues here. I was like, and you could feel it. And that's a lot of steel. So, yeah.
I just remember it was real slow going up the face. And then you kind of ski down the back into the next one. And there wasn't that many, maybe 10 of them that were all like a couple 100 yards apart. But that was some of the wildest water I've ever seen, for sure.
No, I wouldn't do that again. But personally, no, I'm good. It's a good memory. Check.
Check the box and move on, baby.
Yes, sir. All right. What is your favorite thing about fishing?
I think my favorite, I have two sides. So there's the social side of fishing, right? It's where you get together with your buddies. You have the fish fry at the end of the day. You're hanging out, or, you know, you're with your boys from the club, or, you know, the Mad Max in my case, the MMFC. So there's the social side, but then there's also the personal side. There's the piece of you that's standing out on the cliffs at 9:00 at night, hoping another calico bass will bite your bait. There's that striving for the next. It's that sense of achievement when you, and even if you didn't, you're like, well, I took 3 waves to the face, but you know what? I went and did it.
Mm-hmm.
I went and did it.
Cliff fishing is a different ball game too, and not a lot of people. I mean, it's a specific type of fishing when you get into cliff fishing.
Yes,
I've seen it. I can honestly, I've never done it, but in the comparison of what I've watched you guys do and how you do it versus what we do in the sand, whole different mentality and game of play. Lots more to factor in.
There's a lot of moving parts to cliff fishing. And of course, there's also the whole danger aspect of it. Like, hey, maybe, who knows? Maybe this will be the day I eat it and slide down the side. You know, I ate it in La Jolla about 6 months ago, maybe. And I slid down about 20 feet of open rock.
Nice catch at the end, though.
I caught myself.
That's the important catch.
It was only a 30 or 40 foot cliff, you know, but, you know, I fished this other place called Sunset Cliffs where the cliffs are like 60 to 90 feet in places. And, you know,
I mean, that's enough for 2 screams for a breathe in scream. I mean, that's enough for that. No, we don't need that.
True story. Back when Pokemon Go was a big deal, we had about half a dozen tourists in 1 week walk right off Sunset Cliffs, like 80 to 100 foot tall cliffs, just walk right off chasing Pokemon.
Gotta keep your head up. They always tell you, look around, know your surroundings. Yep. No good. What is your favorite fish to target?
This will be weird, and because this is SoCal, no one will believe me, but my single favorite fish to target is a fish called a sargo.
Okay, never heard of that one.
Neither have 90%. Even here in Southern California, most people only occasionally accidentally catch a sargo if they're chucking plastics or a hard bait somewhere around rocks and they hook one on accident. They're a crustacean-eating member of the grunt family. They're a true member of the grunts that gets to about 6 or 7 pounds.
Okay.
They fight probably harder than almost any other saltwater fish I've fought pound for pound. Go on and challenge me on it. Go on and talk smack. I hear you in the comment section. Come at me, bro, because sargo fight like crazy. I've had little ones, like 10, 12 inches, peel, drag, and break me off before on light gear. Straight up.
Oh, man.
They fight hard. They have a small mouth. They're hard to hook. They're bait picky. So getting a big one for the frying pan, and of course grunts are delicious. I know you Florida guys are all a little bit about your grunts, but Grunts are delicious. We all know it. And this is a true grunt, and they have hard meat, and they fight like crazy. They have a small mouth. They're hard to hook. Landing a good sargo feels like an accomplishment every single time.
Man, now I'm going to have to add that to the list to try to target. Okay, cool. And, you bring up an excellent point when you talk about Florida, but this is a lot of people. Since I moved down here, I've heard nothing but, oh, that's a trash fish. Why would you eat that? I've eaten the catfish. Catfish tastes just fine. I've had bonita. Okay, it's not a tuna, but it's still I'll eat it. It's not going to kill me. It's fine. It's
you know what I've always thought funny about the bonita you all catch down there?
What?
This is something I found really hilarious. We have true bonito here.
Yes, you do.
Just like they do in portions of the Atlantic. And to me, a bonito, if bled and cooked freshly, is an amazing food fish. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You all have true tunas that you can target off the jetties, sometimes in the surf, from almost any of the piers. You have true tuna you can target without paying a couple $100 a day for a party boat. And they are badmouth. They are gill slit and thrown to the sharks. They're tossed on the bank. They're thrown in the trash cans on the piers. You have true tuna you can target there. Those little tunny and false albacore, depending on which side of the coast you're on down there, are amazing. They fight hard. If you bleed them and keep them on ice and cook them real fresh, they're pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't say they're amazing, but if you're making tuna salad, fish dip, smoked tuna, perfectly fine.
Yep, gets the job done. I mean,
that's spoiled Yahoo.
That's why I don't trust people when they tell me it's a trash fish until I eat it. Because I'm like, no, I'll find. Like, I'm originally from New England, so I'm used to the big blues, like the big boys. And when I catch a bluefish down here, it's probably, I don't know, 12, 13, maybe 15 inches, and that's kind of, that's a good day. And then I get in the comments, the New Englanders, oh, that's a baby. It's like, dude, we don't get them like that down here. Nope. We don't get your cold ass water. We don't get the big ones.
It's funny because for years I took vacations to Lido Key. And I would throw poppers at dawn and dusk. I would just catch as many fish as I possibly could. And I caught this bluefish that was probably, 4 or 5 pounds. And everybody that was standing around off of that jetty was just absolutely floored that I caught this thing. I thought it was kind of funny because I have fished Central Atlantic and a few other spots that had, beefy bluefish. And I mean, just the way the local guys were like, oh my Lord, that's one of the biggest bluefish I've ever seen. It was a big meaty fish, don't get me wrong, but
and when people tell me blue, they're like, oh, I don't eat it, I use it as bait. I'm like, what the hell, man? Bluefish is delicious. You just gotta cut the bloodline. It's not that bad. Cut that little dark out.
Bleed them out. Done. Bleed them out, keep them on ice. When they're firmed up after being on ice, fillet them out, cut all the bloodline out, use all of the head, guts, skin, bloodline of shark bait and chump. Nothing wrong with that. Actually, and actually, I mean, if you're making it into something like fish dip or smoke, it's perfect. It's fine. That high oil content will stand up to heavy heat, strong spices. Anyway.
Yeah. No, we can talk about that all day because I love talking fish and cooking fish. That's good languages right there. I mean, that's good times. All right, well, let's dig into the memory. We got a little bit here in the memory banks before we go into the fishing tips, tricks, and knowledge. What has been one of the craziest or your favorite fish besides the sargo?
One of my favorite accidental catches. So I fish a lot of saltwater panfish because my arm doesn't work as good anymore, and my back is kind of jacked, and my hip, sciatica, and all this nonsense. Spinal drift, disc bulge, nerve impingement. These are words that come up over and over again when I go to the doctor.
Every once in a week, getting old hurts. That's for sure.
Yep, it all hurts, and none of the pills do anything about it. The alcohol helps me not care, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite accidental catches is what they call a surf tractor. Okay. So the guys that fish bat rays. And believe me, there's a dedicated group of a few dudes that target a special stingray called a bat ray here in Southern California. Okay. Bat rays have incredible stamina. They reach weights that are amazing. Catching a 200-pounder for a guy who does it all the time is not that rare. Okay, we're talking a 200-pound fish from shore in the middle of January at night.
Okay. Now we're
This
adding
is a very rare thing in the world. A 200-pound fish in the middle of summer, you guys are like, yeah, shut up and get out of here. But do it in January almost anywhere. Here in Southern California, that's when these big bat rays with wingspans of over 54 inches come and invade the back bays to eat clams. And there is a small but dedicated group of dudes that go out and catch these things that weigh 250 pounds or more. True story.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Now, every once in a while, one of these guys accidentally hooks a fish called a surf tractor. This is a shovel-nosed guitar fish over 6 feet long.
Oh, no, nope.
I love when I accidentally hook one of these when I'm fishing, as long as it's not too big.
Yeah.
I love hooking a big guitar fish on light gear. They peel, drag, they run all over the place. They swim crazy. And then when you get them to shore and you see this flat, ugly thing with tiny eyeballs, you can't help but laugh and realize that was one of the most fun fights on panfish gear you could have hoped for. You know, this 3, 4, 5 foot long guitar fish that took you for a ride for a half an hour. I mean, I think it's amazingly cool. I get it if you just think there's some trash fish or hate them. And actually, I find them pretty edible too. So if I hook one bad and he's bleeding everywhere, I have no problem taking one home and cutting it up and throwing it in the frying pan. They are a little salty, but you know, the meat is very tight grained. It's very firm. I find them very palatable, but it's just a super fun fish that isn't really available over most of the world. People who catch guitar fish and their kin live in places like South Africa and the Ivory Coast in Africa and Southern California. That's about the only place you hear about these fish. So I think it's really cool that we have access to this fish that is limited distribution across the world, can reach fairly sizable sizes, and really just swims crazy.
So the episode I did with Go Fish Tours out of South Africa, Nick had mentioned something about that. I didn't know it was called a surf tractor. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm understanding what he was talking about and what you're talking about.
Yeah, they swim crazy. I don't know how to describe this. Like, it'll kind of just be coming in, and all of a sudden it'll suction to the ground. So you're prying on the thing. Then all of a sudden it just takes off 100 yards. Then you have to fight it back, and you have to hope you have a wave to surf it in on. And God help you if you're on the cliffs, you're just completely boned. But I mean, I find catching a good size one of those some of the most fun accidental catch you can possibly have.
It sounds like it. Well, you've been fishing a long time. Like you said, you've world traveled and you've seen a ton of things. Is there anything left on your bucket list that you want to catch?
So when I was a young man, and I mean a young man, I was a commercial fisherman that fished off Central America. And if there's one fish, I don't know if I would call this a bucket list. I would call this the revisit. If this was something I could go and relive, it's casting huge handmade surface plugs to those blue jacks in Central America.
Okay.
Just watching, just chugging across the top of the water, and then it looks like somebody kicked a TV out of a plane onto your lure. Just watching the blow up, and the fish just comes out of the water, and it's brilliant blue. If there was one I could go back to revisit, that would be the fish.
That sounds fun. I mean, terrifying at the same time as seeing that blow. I'm like, oh crap, yes! But man,
just insane. We always call them caballo oro, which is like their colloquial name down there. But I guess it's a blue edge trevally or something, or a blue star trevally, or I don't know what the actual name of this fish is. But watching, and especially fishing off of like the peaks. So like the portions of Senam that are real steep and dump off into deep water. It's like these steep volcanic ridges that come down off the mountains into the water. So you have the jungle right there. Then you have like this little narrow band of barrenness. And then you have these roads where it comes down off the mountain, and you just chug. You just see those fish just come up and just crush it.
Man, that had been so fun. Well, along the same lines with this question, then, because like I said, you've traveled a lot. Is there any other place that you would wish that you dream to go and get a line wet and go fishing?
Well, you have to remember, I had the once in a billion opportunity to fish the Christmas Islands.
Yeah,
The first time you see a school of pick-handle barracuda so big that the water turns black and you're looking at the bottom in 200 feet, pretty much ruins you for life.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'd love to go back to Central America. I'd love to go back to the Christmas Islands. I mean, here's the thing, though. I mean, my body physically just can't take anything like that anymore.
Yeah.
So if I could go back and maybe, even if I can fish for like hawkfish in Southern Baja, that's something I haven't done because when I was a kid, there were still lots of groupers and big snappers and stuff like that down there. So the hawkfish hadn't taken over. But now I guess the hawkfish have commandeered all that dirt that used to belong to all the snappers and hogfish and groupers and the pesgallos and all that stuff that's been fished out at the southern end of Baja. So you get this meaty sea bass looking thing that's about 2 feet long. And I guess they've just taken over everywhere around the whole Cape. Ooh. So if I was going to go down there and fish again, I would love to catch some of those. I hear that they're phenomenal eating. They fight like crazy. They'll hit top water. That sounds like some serious fun.
Well, this one's going to be a tough one for you because in case, anyone else is, if you haven't picked your jaws up off the floor yet after listening to this, because I mean, I'm still like, yes, this is awesome. I want to do all these things. This question's going to be a real hard one. Then what has been your favorite fishing memory?
There's been a couple that I don't think I'll beat. I caught a 425-pound giant grouper or Queensland grouper, whatever you want to call that, on hand line.
On a hand line?
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh my God. Let me preface this. So I was a young man once upon a time that was not all broken and beaten, okay? I promise you, there was a time in my life when my thoughts were short and my hair was very long, to quote Kid Rock, okay? So I've got a couple if you want to bear with me.
Yeah, send it, man. I'm loving it. Hey, this is part of the story that you get to share with us, and I will happily listen.
So all my fish over 200, 250 pounds, every single one of them's been caught on hand line. So that includes a 425-pound giant grouper, or a Queensland grouper, or bumblebee grouper, or whatever you want to call that thing, which isn't even big for those. They get to like 700 or 800 pounds. I caught actually my former statement's not true. We'll get to that in just a minute. I just had another memory.
Okay.
I caught a swordfish on hand line that weighed around 550, 600.
Ooh.
I've caught several tuna in the super cow class, so 300 plus on hand line. We did chase a massive tiger shark around Cancun Harbor once upon a time. So the tourists would come, they would catch 2 of these Dorado, right? And the limit in Mexico is 2 Dorado. So the guides would fillet them out and they would send them to the local restaurant with 4 fillets. And then they would just throw all the bodies off the ends of the docks. Well, this huge girl was just swimming in circles over and over around the end of the docks. I'm sure Cancun is not like this anymore, but once upon a time, it just basically had a rock quay on one side and then pilings driven into the mud on the other and like a walking dock. So I launched the Zodiac. We grabbed the biggest gear we had. I think it was a 12 or 15 knot with 150-pound line on it. And we hooked this girl and we chased her around until she got tired and got her up to the boat. And I think she was 19'2", I think. I don't remember what the girth measurement was, but she was like 1,800 pounds, I think. But yeah, it was some ridiculous nonsense that makes But this was like the captive shark in Cancun Harbor once upon a time, and we pulled the boat close enough to her to get the hook out. Is really what we did. We didn't really catch her, so to speak, but that was a pretty fun memory. And then I had the pleasure of fishing the White Banks one time, and that was off Venezuela. And I remember seeing, it sounds weird even to say it, but I literally saw a school of white marlin feeding on juvenile blackfin tuna that was so big you couldn't see the end.
Wow.
It was
crap,
wild.
dude.
Like the swords were sticking up everywhere. The water was red. It was a mess. But it was white marlin feeding on juvenile blackfin.
Jeez, that sounds like a bloodbath.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I saw something I couldn't explain off Central America a long time ago. I'd say it moved a lot like a mako or great white, but it looked like it was like 40 to 60 feet long.
It's the Meg. Just call it a Meg.
I don't have an explanation for it to this day. We'd seen whale sharks many times. We've seen lots of stuff a bunch of times. Those are all memories that stand out.
You know as well as anyone. And well, before I get into this, we got to knock out a bait check. Let's do that first, and then I'm going to make my comment because yeah, this is getting good. It's your first bait check of the episode. Hopefully you've caught a bunch of fish by now and you're doing fine. Everything's great and you're just enjoying this whole show. And if you haven't yet, double check the bait, make sure it's good. If you got to switch it up, switch it up. This bait check is being brought to you by Kids Can Fish Foundation. KidsCanFish.net is a group that gets together in St. Simons Island, Georgia, and they bring these kids out together to do camps. And all the money that you donate to them and for their tournaments goes back into the program for the kids to get rods, reels, cast nets, a bunch of gear so that way they can continue on with fishing. They're the next generation of anglers out there. They're getting the addiction. We've already got it. So we're passing it on, to quote old Captain Dave. And it was a good one that he gave me there. So kidscanfish.net, really great program. And they are a 501c, that's the proper word, group. They got you covered. So they've also got the St. Simons Island Running of the Bulls tournament. I will be there. Lots of fun. It's going to be a great time. So kidscanfish.net, great group, doing great things. Keep it up. And like their great slogan that's not official, more tackle boxes, less X boxes. Keep them kids fishing. It's all good. All right. So I was going to make this comment. And I'll say it now before we move into the fishing tips and tricks. With your world travel, and I'll put my tin hat on here. There is some weird crap in the ocean that most people would not believe you if you told them about it. And you have seen some of that stuff, especially with your travels.
I mean, an old timer when I first got started in commercial fishing, an old timer out of Ensenada that used to land tuna here in San Diego. I'd go out with him and I'd help him bait the lobster pots. He was an old broken man, just like I am now, but well, even older and more broken than I am now. And I dropped something over the side, a tuna head or something. I tried to apologize to him. He just laughed and told me, he said, "Son, the ocean's full of teeth."
Damn it. He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong at all.
And I have seen nothing in all the years since to contradict anything he said.
Perfect. All right. So let's get into the fun part of stealing your knowledge here. That's the sharing piece, because everyone knows this is where it really gets important. And we all do hope you all fish. And this is why we do the podcast, is for you to gain knowledge, whether you're going to go out to SoCal or you can actually use pretty much every tip that you learn throughout there. It's the minor details that really matter. So when you're going to go fishing out at the beach and the surf areas, the cliffs, how do you plan your fishing trips?
Okay. So there's two things. There's sunrise sunset, which are halves of the same coin. And then there's the tide. Now, conditions play a third role, but primary are those two. If you're talking about sunrise and sunset and tide, you're already in the right neighborhood. Of course, conditions can up and screw you no matter what you do.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, maybe some 8-foot swells pass through, ripped up all the surf grass, or down there where you have turtle grass, deposited it all on the beach, and then all of a sudden you just got way too many balls in the air to try to begin to approach things. But that said, I'm a firm believer of, if you have enough water to work with, there's always a chance. It might just be fishing micros or what they call trash or crap fish or whatever. But I can't tell you how many times I've gone out, looked at the surf. It was black with surf grass, just big wads of garbage everywhere. And I mean, people talk about La Jolla being exceptionally clear water. Yeah, it's clear until you get 8,000 pounds of surf grass per 100 yards in it.
Yep.
Then it's unfishable no matter what you do. So you look and you think, well, I have the tide in my favor and sunset is approaching. So those smaller fish will need to feed. Right?
Right.
Like, well, can we find a tide pool that's not choked with grass? Pull a few opali out, maybe some woolly sculpins or rock wrasse or something like that. Many, many times I have gone down to the water and looked, and conditions have been terrible. But you know what? I found a gap in the grass, a little hole in the interior reef somewhere, threw a couple of handfuls of bread, got the fish chummed up, and I had a 30 to 60 fish session over the course of an hour and a half or two. Nothing big, but it's a lot better than driving down to the water, taking a look, and driving home.
Yeah. Yes,
So,
very much so.
So, I mean, you have sunrise, sunset, and you have the tide. Conditions are that third factor. Like, you know, if you don't have the tide working for you, if you don't have enough water in front of you, you're going to be hosed no matter what you do. Conditions aren't going to matter at that point. So make sure there's enough water laying on your spot. Use that sunrise and sunset to your advantage. So that's the changing of the guard, right? So if you fish that last hour of dark heading into sunrise, you have the last hour that nighttime fish can feed. So here in Southern California, fish like soupfin sharks, bat rays, calico bass, spotted bay bass, that is their last chance to feed heavily during the nighttime. When the daytime comes, a different set of predators arrives on the scene. So that's their first shot at it. So I like high tides, or at least incoming tides, at sunrise and sunset. That'll tilt the odds in your favor automatically. No matter where on earth you are that I've been, your odds are better if you're fishing sunrise or sunset with at least an incoming tide, if not an incoming high. If it's sweeping into the high, like right when you're planning to quit fishing, you're maximizing your chances. I don't care if you're in Florida. I don't care if you're in Delaware. I don't care if you're in Southern California. I don't care if you're in Alaska or Panama. Make the most of the opportunity you have. And if you're flexible on target, like I said, I went yesterday morning. La Jolla was socked in with grass. Water was clear as could be. I found a couple of tide pools that had less grass. I chummed up a few micros, and I went home with 5 or 6 fish that I wouldn't have caught if I wasn't flexible on target.
Yeah. That's one thing I love about salt is you can be flexible. That's one of the fun parts about surf fishing. You don't have, I mean, you can target, sure, but there's so many great bycatches you can get yourself into.
I mean, I've had evening sessions here in Southern California where I caught 25 species.
Oh, nice. Yes.
I mean, it's wild to think about, but like, you know, the guy that's watched YouTube and he's throwing a 3-inch grub on a 3/8 ounce lead head. that guy isn't capable of catching 28 species in a night, or at least it's extremely unlikely.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So having some flexibility in target, your size of hooks, your approach, being willing to chum a little really helps. And I'm not really fancy with my chum. You know, my kid didn't eat a hot dog earlier today, so I put it in a bag with some salt and the rest of the bun he didn't eat. And that's all going to go in the water when I fish tomorrow.
Fish will eat it. They'll happily eat it.
They won't care one way or the other. And if the fish I'm targeting won't eat it, maybe the fish that I'm targeting that they're eating will eat it. If you get a lot of bait gathered around, a lot of times every predator in the neighborhood knows right where you are. I've seen it countless times. There's primary chumming, which is chumming to your target, and then there's secondary chumming, which is chumming to the whatever your target's eating. So
yeah. So yeah, that word, that's the word. That is the piece. There's always something that works with that.
Yep.
Okay, so we got the plan there with the tides and sunrise, sunset. Now you've already picked your plan for that. Now let's get into the other one. How do you select the spot that you're going to fish?
I go and look. There's no experience. There's no substitute for time on the water, right? That's been a phrase longer than you and I have been alive. But ultimately speaking, And even if you're like, conditions are terrible, I'm not going to fish. You could turn around and drive home, or you could grab a pair of binoculars and start looking around. You can use that opportunity to increase your own knowledge. Like, hey, how is the bait laying up against this ledge right here? Hey, I see some shimmering on the water right there. It looks like some mid-level predator has moved in. Small jacks, or in our case, jack mackerel or chub mackerel, Pacific chub mackerel, has moved in on this corner. That'll tell you what the predators are doing in that time. It'll also tell you where, hey, you know what? I wanted a load of surf perch or opal eyes or something for dinner. You know what? They're not going to be here because there's sharks all over this corner.
And they don't go where the predators are. They're not going to walk into a bloodbath.
They're peeling out. They're heading that way. So, I mean, just use every opportunity you can. That's what I tell people starting out. If there's 3 pieces of advice I can give you, your first day on the water is going to be tomorrow. Spend tonight watching TV while you tie the same knots over and over. An hour spent tying knots isn't an hour wasted. And you watched your show anyways, right? So why not use that time? Okay, you drove the 20 minutes to the beach, or you drove the 40 minutes to the beach, or, for people visiting the Gulf, 6, 8, 10 hours to the beach. It's blown out. You've got these lateral waves washing down the shore. It's unfishable for how you want to fish. You got 2 options. You can turn around and go home, or you can try to make good on the scenario. Haul out the binoculars. Watch the birds. What are the birds doing? How's the bait laying along that break? What's happening on the outside of the sandbar? A lot of the stuff you can see. Just haul out a cheap junk pair of binoculars from Amazon. It'll give you a wealth of information about what's happening.
Just a little forward never hurts. And yeah, the turnaround part sucks.
That much forethought is all it takes.
Very, very true. Well, let's get into this next piece then when it comes to that, because you tied it in nicely. I love how you did that. So you've got the spot, you're in there now, you're going in with the gear. With the different types of species, I know it's calling, you're going to have to play different games. Now, let's talk about what you're looking for to start your casting, where you're going to throw. Well, where are you going with this?
Okay, so for what I do, which is a lot saltwater panfish, right? The end goal is to have 2 fish for the next day. That's how I look at it. I can slather them in butter and put them on the George Foreman at work, and I can have a really nice lunch the next day. That's my whole gig, right? So what I'm looking for is anywhere where the waves will push the smaller baits into a corner. If I can find that, and especially if I can chum to that, I'll be in the money. I'm eating lunch the next day. Whether it's a big rock wrasse or an opal eye or a sargo or a mid-sized bass or, the other day I caught a legal sheephead. Not those sheephead, the ones we have over here. So yours are porgies, ours are wrasse, okay? They both are goofy, have weird-looking teeth. They're very different fish. They kind of fill a similar ecological niche. Both are ugly as hell. I get it. They have the teeth only your ex-mother-in-law could love. But very similar ideas, right? You're looking for something that's feeding on small crustaceans that are getting washed off a structure into a pocket. That's what you're looking for. I don't care if it's the sheephead porgy or the sheephead wrasse. That's what you're going to be looking for. Very simple. I'm looking for anywhere where small crustaceans are getting blown off of something and deposited.
And the structure piece, like you just said there, structure is not just rocks, people. Like, structure is anything different. If it, a sandbar structure, a break. Okay, now there's the structure opening. Now you start that. Now you brought up one, and I kind of want to tie into that one. When you say getting thrown into a corner, into a pocket, you're talking about stuff like that, like the breaks or the next deep hole or the rock pile, right?
One of my favorite structures when I fished the ocean beach a lot, one of my favorite was rip currents.
Oh, the greatest thing ever. It's like
because anytime you have that littoral current flowing and then you have a current flowing out, there's a pocket there. There's a hole right there. If you can get into that, if you can drift a bait by it, or if you can use the current to your advantage, so that you're holding on to where the current starts dropping off, and then you can guide your bait out. That can be real money. You could catch a fish every cast for hundreds of casts in a row sometimes in scenarios like that.
Yeah, those fish finder rigs and that setup with like a, not a, hell, you can go egg sinker if you really want to get thrown around. Bank sinkers are great for it, but getting that into the current and letting it walk itself right into the hole for you, it's money all day. I mean, just rocking that through a Carolina.
And the flip side of that is using a weight just light enough, right? Because if you're using too heavy of a weight, it's going to fall out too quick, and you're not going to make it to the pocket. So you have to. And believe it or not, I've seen situations even here on the open beach where we have big surf and stuff. I've seen occasions where I hook on a ragged chunk of cut bait. I cast it into there with no weight or anything. Just a Palomar knot for me in the hook. And I just walk it out, and then I hold enough tension on the side so it drops out and circles around. And I've done very, very well in situations like that.
That's a nice technique. I might have to go with that one. I haven't tried that yet. That's pretty smooth.
It's wild because the fish, here in Southern California, a lot like Florida, these fish see rigs every day. So if you can get away with doing something different, something lighter, something less detectable, you have to think of it like those European carp fishing guys.
Yeah.
Less detectable, lighter weight. You don't want the fish to know anything is wrong until they're hooked. Before the split second before that fish is peel and drag and hauling it, you don't want them to know anything is wrong. They can drop the bait. They could spit the bait. They could.
Just a little difference. That makes a huge one. Before I move into the next one, we're going to do another bait check because we're a little behind from the beginning because I was on a happy roll and I wasn't about to change it. I wasn't about to stop it once. Not even a little. Nope. It is the second bait check of the episode, and you've definitely caught fish because, I mean, this episode's so much fun. I'm hoping y'all are having as much fun as I am because it's a blast. This bait check is being brought to you by The Sinker Guy. Head on over to thesinkerguy.com and take a look at everything that Chip's got going on in the Sinker Guy garage. You need Sputniks? Hey, he's got them. It's in his name. Maybe you need some tools, pliers, scissors. Well, I don't know. Maybe a special cutter, maybe a bait thread tool. Yeah, lots of cool stuff in there. Rigs, you still got the Bruno rig, great rig. It's been setting up really well for people and lots of great stuff in there. So go on over to thesinkerguy.com, get your order in today. Quick shipping, great customer service. You can't go wrong. So when you talked about the tides, you've talked about pretty much the big pieces there and cutting into that. Let's talk about the evil monster in the sky for the night, the moon phases. Now, moon has always got a little bit of a play in the game of fishing. And what about you like to fish for a moon phase?
Okay, so I'm going to kind of oppose traditional whatever. Okay, just a little bit. I'm not totally disagreeing with the traditional advice of the whole full moon and and here in Southern California, you have a special thing called the grunion run that's based on the moon phase, right? So it's these little fish that swim up the beach, deposit their eggs. That is a phenomenal time to fish. I don't give a crap who you are. If you are there at night and you are fishing a grunion run in Southern California, your odds of catching something that weighs as much as you have just quadrupled and then some. That said, the biggest effect to me that moon phase has is in the height of the tides.
Right? There it is. There it is.
So,
that's one thing nobody's mentioned.
So here in SoCal, we have the thing that we call the king tide. You don't really have that down there.
Nope.
But up here, the last couple of days, beach parking lots have been getting flooded. Once you get the water above a certain level and the surf above a certain level, and it's been pretty high, you have the chance of seawater flowing into the oceanfront communities here. Our tides are usually pretty small compared to other places like England where they have 30-meter tides. A big tide here is like 7-8 feet.
Yeah. Easy.
But you get a tide over 7 feet, you're talking about flooded parking lots. You're talking about running out of room on the beach. So a lot of these beach areas are backed by cliff here in Southern California. Places like Torrey Pines, Del Mar, South Orange County, San Clemente, Moonlight, all the way up to Santa Barbara. A lot of these beach areas are backed by cliffs. And if you're dumb, you go out and fish these areas at night during a king tide. because you are going to run out of dirt to stand on real quick, and the cliff may come down on top of you in addition to that.
Yeah. If you guys don't watch news on the SoCal, hell, I'll bring up one that I used to watch all the time since I was in the Inland Empire, KTLA. You catch up and watching the stuff that's happening up there when the storm comes through, and all of a sudden you start seeing a house hanging over a ledge. You're like, how? Like, we call that Tuesday. That happens a lot on a king tide, and yeah, it's real.
And especially during spring and fall, but even during summer, like now when we got big waves, the king tide can straight up kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even. Even standing out on the cliffs, you're like, oh, I'm safe up here. Well, 2 waves become one. That 8-foot wave becomes a 16-footer. All of a sudden, it's reaching 70 feet up the cliffs. It'll wash you right off and kill you. So, I mean, to me, I maybe put your 2 cents in on this, but to me, it's like if you're unaware and you're not paying attention,
you're doomed. I mean, there's no other way to say that, because you can't. I mean, most of us that are in the game of fishing, you're going to take a look at the tides. 9 times out of 10, you are going to look at the tide. And if you follow all your apps, it's going to warn you if it's a king tide. You will have a warning. You'll have something that says, hey, it's going to be a 10-foot tide, something to consider. And walking, like you said, if you're walking the beach where the cliff is, now you don't have an escape. What are you going to do? Because the tide's coming. There's no way out of this. And are you going to trudge your ass back? You need to do it quickly, because that tide comes in, you're done. It's over. Don't be screwing around with it.
You know, I had times when I was younger and a little dumber. My hair was a little longer, back when I had hair even, that, I just scrambled up the face of the cliff to get away. But that's not really an ideal situation. It's not something you want to put yourself into. I had times on the jetty where, like, I look back and the jetty is underwater because of the swell that just passed between me and shore.
Ooh,
I've seen it before. I've been out there. I've done it. I've been out on the cliffs when all of a sudden, one night I called the wife. I said, well, sorry, wife, I'm not going to be home till later because I'm standing on top of some pickleweed behind some huge condo here in La Jolla because I'm just cut off. I have no way back. So I have to wait a couple hours for that tide to recede. Then I could actually have a safe walk back. But I mean, I was stuck underneath some stairs on the backside of a condo for 2.5 hours one night. Even, this was a few years ago, not like back when I was 20. And, I got the whole angry Mexican wife thing of who is she? But no, I was actually stuck up against a condo in La Jolla.
She's the Pacific Ocean, and she's a cruel bitch.
Yeah, that is a mean woman right there. She does not forgive you for any mistakes at all. No. The mistress is relentless.
Yes.
And she won't stop till you're dead sometimes.
Yep. She will constantly take if you don't pay attention to her. So you've mentioned, well, we actually haven't dug into this. So with different types of fishing out there, you have to use different rig styles, obviously. And I know you're throwing numerous different things. Do you have a preferred set that you like to utilize?
So so keep in mind, I am old and set in my ways. So I apologize to anyone if I offend by this, but I use a very non-standard rig. As I've gotten older, it's just a rig that works. I have 1 knot between me and the hook. It's very quick to retie. So I keep a long spider hitch above a surgeon's loop. That's what I do. I make my spider hitch almost long enough to tangle with my surgeon's loop. Almost.
Interesting.
I get great bait movement. It's very snag resistant. And so further the snag resistance, like a lot of the areas I fish are mixed rock, kelp, surf grass, sand. It's got everything within one cast. So I could be casting onto a steep side of a reef, or I could be casting onto sand 10 feet away. And a lot of the fishing I do is in the dark. So I need a very versatile rig. I find of all the loop knots, the spider hitch is by far the strongest. I fish straight mono. That's something to keep in mind. I don't fish leaders. I fish straight mono because it's a more abrasion resistant for me than fluoro. Go on ahead. Fight me on this all day in the comment section. Tell me how resistant fluoro is. And then look up any of the thousands of tests that have been done by the Australians. The Mad Max Fishing Club did our own test. Live on camera during fishy hour. Okay? You fluoro guys are full of crap. Mono is way more abrasion resistant.
Yeah,
And it's the same thing I found in my personal life.
it's been proven. I'll agree with you. Mono is stronger than fluoro. Fluoro is not designed to be used like that.
It's stronger. It's more abrasion resistant. It takes knots better. End of story. I mean, I don't care what you say about fluoro. There are occasions when fluoro makes sense, basically for its sink rate. In every other scenario, I'm using mono. And I fish straight mono. I don't fish braid to leader. I don't do any of that shenanigans. I'm willing to pay. If it takes me $6 to go to the beach and back in gas, I can afford 40 cents worth of monofilament to fill my reel. That's my opinion about it.
Fair.
But I have found that the spider hitch over the surgeon's loop, if my weight snags, and I use steel weights, I use things like spark plugs and bolts and nails and all kinds of stuff. I got a bucket full of chain link out here. And the reason I use steel is because I fish the same areas over and over again, and I don't want to turn my fishing area into the lead desert.
Fair.
Not only does it save a few bucks, but over time that steel is going to go away and become part of the environment that benthic organisms are going to grow on, and it's not nearly as harmful to the environment as lead. So anywhere I can, I use steel.
Okay. Interesting.
Also, I find a section of chain like that, 3 or 4 smaller chain links, very, very snag resistant. It'll crawl over anything, kelp, rocks, reefs. You know, the wind catches your line and it falls on the other side of the exposed rock in front of you. Well, you can just crawl it right back over into you 99 times out of 100.
I mean, those smooth edges, that makes a lot of sense. It'll just roll right through it.
I'm telling you, I've watched you just walk up over the rock and drop into the pocket many, many times.
Wow.
Thousands of times.
That's actually a really cool idea.
And here in California, so I've got a job where not my department, one of the department next to mine replaces chains. So in California, and soon to be federal law, no chain that's used to support human weight, like a playground swing or anything like that, is allowed to be repurposed for any situation where it can take human weight again. So all those thousands of pounds of chains that get replaced across the country every single day, all those end up in recycling dumpsters that your tax dollars pay to empty. So why not repurpose 10 or 20 or 40 or 80 pounds of it? I give it away to my friends here all the time.
It makes you're on to something here.
Now, mind you, it's not as aerodynamic as a regular lead weight, or even a piece of rebar or something. If you want to go, if I'm casting distance, I use solid steel. But for just casting out and catching opal eyes and sargos and sand bass and rock wrasse and all the stuff I catch from the surf, steel will do the job that I need it to do. It comes in every weight, from a nail that big to 5-pound chain drags I used to use for halibut from the kayak. It comes in every weight. It comes in every size. It comes in every style. It's very cheap. It's environmentally friendly. So call it the Californian in me. You can call me a kook, a Guggen. What is it? A try-hard if you're up north in Northern California. But really...
No. I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah. I've been around. You can hate me. It's fine. You can call me whatever you want. And, I get it for guys using Sputniks or whatever like that really need to grip the bottom hard. They need trip outlets. They need self-hooking rigs. Steel is not the choice in every scenario. Even for, if I need a light slider or if I'm using split shot, obviously lead's the way to go. But for the rigs I use 90% of the time, it's nothing particular. It's nothing specific. I don't have to dial it into 1/10 of an ounce so I can cast. I don't need all that. So if I'm casting 50 to 110 yards, I can use steel. Then when I break it off, it just becomes part of the environment and I move on.
Yeah, it's a good way. I mean, full circle, so that works out nicely. Okay, so nice setup there. I mean, spider hitch on the sturgeon loop. Cool. All right, so that's your setup there. All right, so now we're going to move into the last little pieces here, and then we'll get into the social media piece portion of the interview. What do you do when you go fishing in a brand new place that you haven't been before?
I've been asked this question before, and my approach is always the same. instead of rushing down to the water and being in a hurry to get a bait out, I'll kind of just take 20, 30 minutes. Step back. Look around. What are the birds doing? What are the waves doing? Are they bouncing off of something? Where does the wave break first? And where does the wave break last? Right? Very simple. You look for dark water. You look for white water. Take a step back. Do a little analysis. Take a look around. If there's water behind you and in front of you, like a lot of places in Florida and here, maybe look behind you. Take a look. What's it going to do? Cost you 5 minutes?
No.
But the intel you gather from that might make your whole day, your whole week, if you're on vacation somewhere. Be like, you know what? The mullet go past this point every single day. Or here in San Diego Bay. You know what? I'm looking at all this surf, but behind me, I see jack smelt jumping out of the water every day at 5:30. That might clue you in on what's happening behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just take that 20 minutes. Do a little assessment. Do a little recon.
Fish don't jump just because they like exercise, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
usually if you see that. Yeah, it's the same thing with the birds. The birds aren't flying for their health.
No, not at all. I love it.
If you see a tern here in Southern California, terns are big. I mean, I've seen elsewhere in the world too, but here terns are king. If I see a tern make like a 180 in the sky, I know right where something's going to be going down. The tern might not be able to capitalize on it at that time. It may not even necessarily know what it's looking at. But when I see a tern that's flying one way go whoop, I know.
Yep. He just lets you know, like, oh, hey, there was something here. I can't get it, but you can. So,
yep.
Yeah, there's a reason to watch that. Huh?
Countless times. if you and particularly in the Gulf of Mexico, if you arrive at the beach and you look down, you'll see where all the herons are all bunched up, all the herons and egrets. You'll see them all in one place.
Yep. Fred hangs out for a reason. Fred knows where the fish are.
Yeah, the first thing you do is you take a look. If I really don't know what I'm doing, I'll put a small live bait hook on something with a real hard shank, something with a good thick shank, like the what is it, Mustad 6818s or whatever. Something with a short shank, almost a circle, like size 6 or size 4, and I'll just, if I'm prospecting, just a piece of shrimp on there, just a small piece of shrimp, just cast it around. You'd be surprised. You can catch bait that way. You can catch eaters that way. You can catch indicator fish that way very easily. So, shrimp, you do a little bit of prospecting, often in order.
Good advice right there for going a new one. All right, so this one, you're going to have fun with this. How do you adjust your tactics for fishing when the bite isn't on fire?
Scale down, scale back, look at different areas, change targets. If you were told that, hey, the bluefish are eating diamond jigs down on the second bar this week, and you show up and it's not happening, yeah, you can keep casting to Kingdom Come. Or you can look around and look for a different target. Be like, you know what? Let me put on a fish finder rig. Let me put on a blind man rig, a knocker rig, a high-low, whatever your go-to is for feeling around. Bait it up with a couple pieces of shrimp. Use a little bit lighter weight than you might for anchoring it to the bottom, so it moves around a bit. That way you got a bait moving. You're searching out.
Nice.
It's very simple. And to me, like I said, yesterday I went down to La Jolla. The water was black with surf grass, eel grass, giant kelp, California kelp, bull kelp was even in the mix. When you see that, you're like, let me throw a hydro minnow. Let me go throw the flash minnow. Yeah, good luck, dude. You better change your targets. You better change your hook size. You better scale down your hook. Your life is going to be miserable, and you're going to turn around and leave. I ended with 8 or 10 fish yesterday, including 2 I could have eaten.
Yeah.
It's better than a stick to the eye.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who've never seen California kelp, she thick. It
is literally the fastest growing organism on Earth.
It is so cool to see.
The giant kelp grows faster than anything else on the planet. It can grow 8 or 10 feet in a day, something like that.
Just Google it. Yeah, just look it up. You guys, it's a very impressive species, and it's a very interesting. It's such a great, it's a great hider too. I mean, if you can get through it, it's such a great habitat for fish. All right,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you can see, if you skin dive here in Southern California, you'll see 60, 80, 90 food fish off of a single stringer that reaches the surface easy.
Yeah, it's such good camo for them. And it's good for the environment, so it works out. Last question in this category, and then we'll move into the social media after one more bait check. For seasons, seasons are always going to play a factor. Summer and fall, or summer and winter, hot, high, low, colds always play a factor. With fishing in SoCal, what have you noticed for the seasons?
So for me, wintertime is big fish time. That's when the big bass, that's when the big surf perch, that's when some of the biggest species come out to play, including bat rays, our bigger soup fin sharks. They all approach during the winter. So winter is big fish time. So it's time to settle down, get your mind right, pick your corner or your lay or your break, whatever it is you're doing, and get your mind in the game to present the baits, because you might only get a couple of chances to hook a fish. But if you do, chances are good it's going to be a bass over 20 inches. It's going to be the biggest surf tractor you've hooked this year. It's going to be an opaline, the 2 to 4 pound range, when usually most guys catch them at 6 ounces. That's the time. That's the time when the surf perch are bulking up, getting ready to give birth. So you're shot at the biggest black surf perch, walleye surf perch, barred surf perch, red tail surf perch up north. Your best chances during the winter on big fish. During the summer, it's a numbers game. That's the time to drag out jigs, fast moving baits. That's when you're dragging out the jerk baits. That's when you're handling it. And you got to be used to these long sessions on the water. And sometimes the bait's going to cooperate, sometimes it's not. But summer's the time to put numbers on the bank. Pretty simple. Spring and fall, those transitional times, you might have to pick some structure apart. You might have to change your targets. You might have to move to a different style than you usually do, because those fish are going to be in transition.
Lots Pretty of traffic, easy. Though. Traffic, and there's fun traffic in the transition times, though, from what I've heard in a couple episodes. That you know where you're at.
I mean, sometimes you got to read between the lines a little bit. It's no different from fishing in Florida or someplace else.
Yeah, I mean, I hate our summer right now. We're in a weird transition summer because we're in a super hot one. So we're dealing with a lot of the creatures are going off deep. You're in a better position to be on the pier and in the boats right now. You can still catch from the surf. It's just not as fun. But wintertime, it turns into the cold desert, and you just gotta adjust.
Switch targets. Start targeting some micros. Start targeting some mini pelagic. Start targeting. You know what I mean? Guys are like, well, I'm not putting on a size 10 hook. Well, enjoy your blank. Enjoy the blank.
You got to be willing to, and like we started talking about in the beginning here, you can't, especially for us, you can't walk to the beach in summer and be like, all right, I'm only targeting pompano. You're going to have a really bad day, because, this is not ideal pompano. You might catch one, sure, but it's not going to be a day where you're going to rake in 6 to 12. It's not going to happen. And you just have to be understanding that there's other stuff out there. We've got the jacks. If you throw metal, you're going to probably catch a jack. You'll probably catch a blue, Spanish. You never know. If you get in a lucky one, you might find something that came in a little crazy. You never know. But if you go up with one fish in mind in your brain, and you only set the fish with one fish in your mind, it doesn't matter where you are. You're not going to have as much fun, and you're not going to have the amount of success you could have if you would adjust.
Now, see, I would say that the Florida anglers are super lucky. Super lucky. You have a target you can chase that can peel drag 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 10 months of the year. I mean, maybe not during like the coldest days of February, March, right. late January. You have the sharks available to you.
Yes.
And I get it. You hate them. They're terrible. They're a nuisance. But that is an untapped resource of drag pulling, jumping craziness that you can tap into almost any time. And keep in mind that, like, in large parts of the world, stingrays are a game fish. They're a catch and release fish. They really are. And I mean, you can hate on saltwater catfish or whatever, but at the end of the day, all those saltwater catfish, you can peel them and fry them if you wanted to.
Yes, you
There's
can.
no problem. They don't taste terrible. There's nothing especially bad about them. I mean, you can hate it or you can embrace it and you can go out and lay a beat down. Hey, I caught 5 black tips today. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Hey, I hooked a 6 foot nurse shark and I unhooked it in waist deep water today. Hey, you don't understand how blessed you are. You're so blessed that you have forgotten how blessed you are.
See, that's why I'm fortunate for this, because it's me. I just like fishing. So
yeah, me too, man. I don't mind catching some Sergeant Majors. I don't mind catching. What is that fish you have down there? That's like our rock wrasse, the slippery dick.
Yeah,
the most hated microfish of all time. But you can catch them all day, every day, if you wanted to.
Yep.
You can catch till the cows come home.
Everybody's got to find a way to complain about something, though. Isn't that the truth?
Well, I always joke here about, but that's not yellowtail, so you need to get the hell out of here. I always joke about it because that's the attitude. Oh, it's yellowtail or nothing. Like, what's wrong with you, dude? We got 170 species out here, and you're whining about one
and only one, and that's what I want is one.
That's all that there is. Okay, I'm not some worthless scrub kook. Okay, you got that? You scrub kooks can go pound sand.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get this bait check, and then we'll move. We'll move into the fun parts here. We'll knock into the social media and closers. That was such a fun day. Every time I look at that bait check, it just brings me back to a happy place of great water and great times, man. That was a fun fish. Yeah, that was a real fun fish, actually. All right, this final bait check is being brought to you by Ninja Tackle. NinjaTackleVA.com. You can get your hands on the old Ninja daggers. You guys know I use them. I love them, from the 7-footer where I use it in the surf all the way to inshore. I've used it numerous different times. Throws great response all the way up to the 13-foot size. Lots of great things in with the rods. He's also got reels and rigs, bait, you name it, he's got it. And if you're into firearms and firearm accessories, Ninja Tactical. If you need AR accessories, Glock parts and pieces, optics, those stuff, he's got it in there. So NinjaTackleVA.com, great one-stop shop. Yes, it is. All right, so let's move into the social media side of this thing here. What made you want to start into the social media game? I mean, you've got YouTube, you've got TikToc, you've got it all.
The only one I don't do is Instagram, just because I don't like the algorithm over there. But I do have a TikTok, I do have a YouTube, and I do have a Twitter. So what I found over the years is that Twitter is really weather friendly. I'm out there in it all day, every day. I work outside, live outside, play outside. So I get all kinds of time lapse stuff and weather related stuff, clouds, whatever I can find, sunrise, sunsets. I post all that on Twitter because it does real well. On TikTok, you'll see a mismatch of all kinds of nature-related content. Could be mushrooms in a lawn, or could be a thunderhead building over East County, or fishing, or just weird animals, or kelp holdfasts, or whatever I find when I'm out walking around. I'll post that on TikTok, and then YouTube's mostly fishing only. But I might sprinkle some other stuff in there, like trapping stuff or other whatnot scattered in there. And although I have a Rumble, I haven't really posted over there. I put a halt on everything till they get their monetization all squared away over there. So for those of you who believe in the 1A, 2A, 3A, you will be able to find me on Rumble sooner rather than later, I suspect. But I'm just waiting for them to settle down and find a nice, calm, even thing. But the origins of all this, it's kind of a serious topic, I guess. But I found out I basically have uncontrollable blood pressure.
Okay.
So to be really high and they put me on medication, I go so low, I almost die.
Holy crap, that's not good.
So, I'm a father of 2. So I wanted my kids to be able to find at least some vestige of the old man out there somewhere, and just in case. And I work a really dangerous job where I can die every day. It's nuts. And although all that's going to be changing, I think in the coming months for me, I might be a lot closer to where you are now than where I am now in coming months. So who knows how that'll work out. But I might be transitioning to a very different lifestyle than the one I have now very soon. So I wanted to have a presence online so that my kids could remember some of their good times with me and, just get some fatherly wisdom. That's one of the big reasons I've been such a contributor to Fishy Hour. And actually, I'll be taking over this week on Fishy Hour. So if you want my hot take on the offshore, you can check me out over there on Wednesday at 7. Wednesdays at 7 the next few weeks.
Nice. I'll make sure that's linked.
Yeah. Fishy Hour. Roman's a great dude, and we have a great time on there when I'm on. And, Brian mostly does bay fishing for bay bass and sand bass and stuff. So, if you're into that, or if you're in our local community here, you're welcome to join us over on Fish Hype. We'll give you a Discord if you want to go to the Discord for us. We're a tight-knit group of dudes that come together, and a few ladies too. We have a good time at cookouts and the Mad Max Pickle Run, where they launch from Mission Bay and come in via San Diego Bay on kayaks. So, super fun stuff. We all kinds of events, barbecues, award shows, everything with them over there. So we have a great time. It's a great group of people, and we're there for each other. So yeah, it's this all kind of started a number of years back. I've had my YouTube channel a long time. I'm closing in on 2,000 subscribers over there. It's been a long journey, but it kind of started as a way for me to preserve a little something for my kids if they ever wanted to see their old man, in case I just fall over from a heart attack or tractor trailer retread gets me out on the freeway somewhere sometime or whatever. So that kind of all started there. And my buddy Sven, who talked to you, he got me into TikTok. He's like, hey, you're out there, you see nature all day every day, why don't you just start a TikTok and start posting all the footage you've already got? So I've been doing that. I'm just into being outside, really.
Sounds like it.
I mean, weather, and I've always loved reptiles. I did professional animal handling for 7 or 8 years as a young man. That's a whole different thing. I've been bit 13 times by venomous snakes. I've been around. I've seen a few things. I've done this, that, and the other. But just kind of leaving something for the kids online for them to laugh at. If the old man buys it somewhere someday. It's kind of how it all started.
Well, hey, kids, save this video. Come back. You get to hear Dad talk about it all. So now you know why. Now you know. What would you say has been one of the biggest lessons learned after running all your channels on social media on all these different outlets?
If you want my advice to somebody starting out, this is what I would tell you. Drop short form content. Drop lots of short form content. One every single freaking day if you can. Because it'll grow your listenership more than anything else. Now, those people won't care about your long form videos. They won't tune in for your long form videos, but it's important to have that presence for the algorithm. That's what I would tell you. That's something you need to do, Mr. Demo.
Yeah, I know.
Something you need to do. You need to start dropping short form content.
I need to start doing video is what it is. And I've been avoiding it for the length of the channel. Now, as you can see, we're starting it. Hey, who knew?
Well, I'm telling you now, you live somewhere where you have those little green things in your yard.
Yeah.
Put them on TikTok. Put them on YouTube Shorts so that you can gain a following. Because it's real easy to get to that 4,000 hours, right? So you can get monetized. Well, I shouldn't say it's super easy, but most people who do long form content reach that 4,000 hours in 28 days way before they approach the 1,000 subscribers. So the subscribers is what's going to hold you back on YouTube. It's what's going to keep you out of the algorithm on TikTok and Twitter too, from what I can tell. So drop short form content every single day across all platforms where you want to be active. That's the first thing I can tell you. The second thing, don't worry about your quality at first. It's volume over quality by a long mile for you first starting out. And the reason I say this is very simple. Volume matters. You're dealing with a machine learning program that doesn't know you and doesn't care about you. It doesn't care how much quality you have. It doesn't care how great your cuts are. It doesn't care how amazing that B-roll is. It doesn't care about any of that. It's looking at numbers. So drop your one long form content every week or two, or every couple of days if you can manage it. But make sure you're dropping short form content as often as possible. Certainly no less often than every other day. You want your channel to grow. You want to grow your brand. Find something interesting to say. Say it every other day at the bare minimum.
So many people have been not doing what you're saying, especially the ones that are primarily YouTubers. All right, I'm going to step on somebody's dicks here. They have a tendency. Yeah, I'm an idiot. They heard the part that you said about the shorts, because that was that one that, like, when shorts blew up, shorts was amazing. And then everybody gained all these things. They're like, well, nobody's watching my long form content. It's like, well, yeah, okay, they were into the short. The poop scroll is the poop scroll. People want to be entertained, but you can't give up the long form content. You can't. It in sustainability and long term, it will pay off dividends in the long run. But yeah, the short piece, huge. And yes, I have failed that, but I know that. But yes, you nailed it on the head with those pieces, and that's great advice, man. If anyone's not taking it, I think that's short-sighted.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, I've been in the game a long time. I've watched how YouTube's changed over the years. Like, I've had a channel for 5 or 6 years now. And really, it really was for my kids, or like for my family, or even myself, to have a laugh at myself. And it wasn't really till I got more serious about short form content that I started growing my audience, and I really started bumping my hours up and stuff. So, I mean, if there's just a few pieces of advice I give to somebody starting out, post often. You might be like, oh, this clip is garbage and I'm only going to get 500 views on it or 200 views. Post it. Keep yourself in the machine. Keep yourself in the rotation so you're being recommended to people. On TikTok, I find it's really vital that I like as much crap as I can that's relevant to me. The more stuff I like, the more I'm in their feeds, the more I get followers, the more I get view time. Simple. You're already doing it, right? You're already sitting there.
Yep. It works.
Why not
and it's true.
Drop some likes on your way by on any content you want to see more of in the future. TikTok's algorithm's really responsive. Like, it'll start feeding back to you what you like real quick. Like within a couple of minutes, it'll start kicking.
Yeah. And on the accidental likes too.
Yep, accidental likes too. Believe me, I'm trying to exit a loop on the accidental like thing. Like, I accidentally liked some videos that had no views, and all of a sudden I'm inundated with absolute garbage. But there's nothing for it but to just move forward. Start being a little more picky about the content you like. Like those fishing videos, the people hoisting fish, the weather, whatever it is you're into. And don't forget that, like, across platform, if you're out there fishing and there's a thunderhead forming in front of you and it forms a water spout, that's tens of thousands of views on a platform like Twitter, whereas YouTube might not care. So if you're across platforms, find what works for you. That lizard bobbing its head on the rock next to the trailer at my wife's work got 7,000 views on TikTok.
Really?
Yeah, this lizard was doing push-ups, and she didn't care that I was there, and like the male was there trying to protect her from me. I got thousands of views. Absolutely stupid. I mean, a couple of lizards next to a trailer on a piece of concrete.
But it worked.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so just a quick plug to my buddy John at Cast and Spear. He grew from 9,000 to like 30, 40,000 over the course of like 4 or 5 months by dropping 3 shorts every single day on YouTube.
Oh, wow. That's a quick turn.
Yeah, it was nuts. Like, he turned it around and he went for it. And he absolutely maximized the leverage of shorts when shorts were rising to popularity. He's really good at that, actually. And actually, he's got some good content anyway. But like, the guy figured out the TikTok algorithm in like 5 seconds after he joined, and he's got hundreds of thousands of followers there. I'm not kidding.
Oh, see, those are the ones that are always fun. It was kind of like that, Salt Squatch over here. He has been brilliant in that game, and he's mentioned a lot of the same things when it comes to shorts and the algorithms. But yeah, seeing somebody blow up very quickly out of that it's impressive. It really is, and it's just the system will move things through. If you feed it, it'll feed you.
Yeah, And it's wild because there's a lot of power in just staying in the algorithm. Even if you post something and only gets 100 views, you're like, well, that was a fail. I'm not going to do that. Don't, because that could turn around. That could help you keep you in the algorithm so your next video gets 3,000 to 5,000 very easily.
Yeah.
My number one video is a fish the size of my hand that was brilliant blue that I threw off of a break wall. 30,000 views.
That's a win. That's a super
Yeah.
win right there.
I mean, it took me 10 seconds to make that video. I couldn't have predicted that it would do that, but it took me 10 seconds to make that video.
It's always that one too, isn't it? It's the one video you're like, nah, that's not going to do anything. Holy crap, what the hell?
And you know what? So we have 3 sea chubs here in Southern California. We have the opal eye, the half moon, and the zebra perch. Opal eye are kind of viewed as a nuisance fish, but I love eating them. So to me, the opal eye is straight money. But for some reason, my sea chub videos get 2 to 3 times what any of my game fish videos get, and I don't know why. So just because you're like, oh, this is a crap fish, who cares? That might be 30,000 views you just slept on that you threw back for the fish the size of your hand that had a nice blue stripe down the back. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
If the fish is there in your hand and you have a phone in your other hand, how long does it take you to say, hey, look, it's a, I don't know, what would be down there by you? Hey, look, it's a sergeant major or a slippery dick or, oh, this hard-head catfish is venomous. Look at this spine right here. And then you throw it back in the water. That could be 10,000 views. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let me get you these last questions and get you out of here for the night. We'll hit into the closing section. So the first one is you kind of already did, but I'm going to do it anyway. What knowledge would you give to a brand new angler starting out in the surf fishing game?
Start out small. Don't worry about the long rods. Don't worry about the big reels. Don't worry about all the braid backing. Don't worry about casting 100 yards. Don't worry about that. Start out small. Get some smaller hooks. Get some chunks of shrimp, squid, mussel, ghost shrimp, sand fleas. What, as you would call them, we would call them. Man, I'm drawing a blank here. Sand crabs is what we call them.
Yeah,
sand crabs. And learn, just do some basic research on the common rigs used where you are. Now, the rigs where you are probably used because they work. I mean, I hate to tell you this, but people usually don't use rigs that don't work. What I do is a little specialized with the whole spider hitch thing. I get it. I find it to be a very versatile rig where I can hang my bait very precisely off bottom a couple inches. So that's why I do that. It's very snag resistant. But if you're fishing Ocean Beach, maybe a fish finder, a Carolina, even a cork, yeah, I mean, to me, corks are very underutilized in beach fishing down there. They create a tremendous amount of surface commotion for fish to come check out. That and a small bucktail tipped with shrimp will get you an awful lot of species in the surf down there. Florida, Carolinas, Outer Banks. And it's not a rig I see used very often, so take it for what it's worth. I'm always wary of the guys that use the same exact set of baits because I feel like they're trying to sell you that Lucky Craft, that Gulp Minnow, that whatever. They're trying to sell you on a rig. They're trying to sell you on a bait. For new anglers, it can be really confusing. They go down to the tackle shop, they get some big round reel, they fill it to the rim with braid, and they wonder why they struggle. Just find some gear you're comfortable with in your hand. Learn to do a reasonable cast. You don't need to cast 125 when you're starting out. Focus on structure. That'll help a lot. You know, if you fish the beach right next to the jetty, there's always fish there. Always. Doesn't matter if you're in California. It doesn't matter if you're in Florida. It doesn't matter if you're in Panama. Those areas will always hold fish. So if you use a smaller hook, piece of shrimp, you know, I'd say your odds are really good at catching fish regardless of what your rig is like. Focus on those basics. Look where the wave starts breaking first. Watch where it breaks last. Look for dark water. Look for light water. Because that'll tell you what's going on in front of you. You know, particularly in surf and cliff fishing. Cliff fishing is a little more dynamic than surf fishing, but it's the same set of principles. You're looking for somewhere something can either ambush or push a bait up against, or where a bait gets washed off and dropped to them. That's what you're looking for. And none of this is complicated. This doesn't have to be difficult. You know, structure can be liquid. It can be hard. You're looking for anything different. When you first start out, be mobile. Be flexible. You know what? You're getting the bait nibbled off. Scale down to a size 10 and catch the bait thief. See what you have going on. You don't have anything to lose. What's the worst possible outcome you have at the end of the day? You have some dinner on the plate. And most any fish from anywhere in the world you are is edible. Okay. I'm sorry. I know that there's trash fish and all this other shit. It's bull. Okay. It's bull. The rock wrasse here are just as edible as the slippery dick in Florida. Just as edible. You know, yeah, there are some exceptions like moray eel. Some places carry ciguatera. And, you know, barracuda might have ciguatera some places. If you're worried about a fish making you sick, pick a smaller one. That 3/4 to 2 pound class of fish, perfectly edible 99.999% of the time. I don't care what it is. I don't care what part of the world you're in. You catch a fish that weighs less than 2 pounds, its chance of having ciguatera is near zero. Simple. Keep it simple. Dial it back. You know, use a smaller hook if you have to. Use a lighter weight. You know, that 8-ounce weight, those fish might be dropping that bait before you ever feel they're there. Whereas a 1/2 ounce weight that you can cast, you know, a third as far, they might pick it up and not even know it's there, and you might hook 8 fish out of 10.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm just saying, it's just being obvious.
Oh, that the funny part is that obvious. Not a lot of people will follow, and I mean this in the best way because you guys watch the show, you know what I use, you know my normal setups, but on that same one. Somebody starting out, like I made the mistake when I came down here. I instantly grabbed the 4-ounce weight. I instantly grabbed the double dropper and with the big beads and all these things because it's what I'd heard. It's what I'd seen. I didn't spend the extra time to ask more questions. I was too excited. I was like, I'm going to go catch fish. I'm going to do this. And sure enough, I got lucky, but that's only because a hurricane had just come through, screwed the whole structure up, and I caught a red drum on the weirdest way. And I was like, all right, cool. I guess I can do this all day. Thankfully, I've learned my lessons and I've become a little bit better of an angler and I'm a little bit smarter. But when you're excited, it's easy to make those mistakes. Make the greatest point. Take your time, start off on that and dial it back if you have to. It's not a problem to dial back. It can be a pain in the dick to go up, but it's a little easier to go down.
Yeah, I mean, lighter leaders, loop knots, smaller hooks, lighter weights, lighter gear. You might be like, those West Coast guys don't know what they're talking about when they use those stupid SST rods. Some of the most successful anglers I know fish a sand crab on a blind man rig or a knocker or a Carolina, and they fish it on a 9-foot SST, and they use 4-pound test, and they catch these Corvina as long as their arm. They give them an absolute workout. If you want to know what a Corvina is like, imagine a whitefish times 5 that can take 100-yard runs.
It's a whiting on steroids. It's pretty much one of the best ways somebody explained it to me. I was like, oh, all right, I want one.
Corvina are nuts, and they're very line shy. They're very rig shy. If they see anything off, they won't bite. They just won't. I know guys that use 64-ounce, 1/64th ounce sliding weights on a knocker rig with a sand crab to just bury the front of the sand crab in the sand. And they watch these massive Corvina come up behind and eat it, and then they're in for the ride.
So Ben up at American Sea Fishing, he's north of you. He's up, I think he's Dana Point. He was talking about that with the Corvinas, and especially, you know, I was like, they are brilliant and they are smart. They watch, they know what to look for. They're very finicky. They pay attention to what's out there. So yeah, when you're talking about the going down to 4-pound, people are like, oh, what the hell? Again, 4 pounds in the water is not 4 pounds on the shore. It is all about drag manipulation and being smart, thrust versus ratio. You don't have to get crazy with it. But yeah, that was fun listening from Ben on that.
I mean, I believe in the KISS principle. If you don't know what's going on, a size 6 hook and a weight less than an ounce and a piece of shrimp on there. And salt that shrimp, cut the shrimp into chunks and salt it if you're having problems with bait thieves.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy.
Well, last question for you, and we'll get you out of here. What's next for you, man?
Well, serious changes are coming to my life. So I think that my time here in SoCal is beginning to expire. Whether I end up in Arkansas or Florida remains to be seen. But no matter where I'm at, I can almost guarantee you that I will figure out a way to put that magical 3/4 pound to 2 pound fish in a frying pan and get it cooked.
That's right.
It's my style. It's what I do. You know, I do lots of catch and release and stuff and microfishing too, but it won't be very long, I think, till I have some fish in a frying pan laying in a bath of either butter or bacon fat. And whether it's breaded or not, or, you know, there's some other factors there, whether I serve it over potatoes, rice, or corn. I strongly suspect that whatever happens to me from this point forward, I'll end up with some fish taking a bath in some hot oil and hot animal fat, I should say. And I imagine I'll be eating that.
Well, we look forward to watching it because I know I definitely will, and it'll be fun. But, Coach, man, you've been great, brother. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing all this knowledge. It's been an absolute blast, man. It really has.
Well, let me know if you ever want to have me on, or you got something specific for me, or hey, people in the comment section, drop some stuff. If you want to see me on, drop a comment. I'm happy to come on. I'm happy to spend some time. If you're a rookie, or hey, we're gonna go to the lake of the Ozarks. What do I do? I got you, bro. I got you. So I mean, I fished it all at one time or another, more or less. Minus a few things like commercial fishing halibut in Alaska. I didn't do that. But I mean, hey, I caught snake mackerel in the Indian Ocean on a commercial rig, so I've seen a few things in my time, and I might have some insight that'll help you. I might not, but I might have some insight that'll help you. So hit me up on my channel. Hit me up over here on Finding Demo. I mean, hey, look forward to hearing from you. Happy to talk again anytime. This was awesome. You let me know, brother.
Oh, it'll happen. It's definitely happening. All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace, my dude.
Later. All right, everybody. I hope you had as much fun as I did. I mean, on video, it's cool. You get to see me smiling. And I know you guys didn't normally see me do video as much, but it is happening more and more. And I am glad that I got to do it this way. Coach was great. Lots of fun stuff. All the social media stuff will be linked back on findingdemosurfishing.com on the website, but it'll also be on the Transistor website. You'll be able to get that. We'll have all the links hyperlinked back. Look them up, WERFT.TV. Easy way to find them that way. But again, links will be all set. If you got questions for him, hey, he just told you how to get in touch with them. Not hard, right? Lots of good stuff. Thanks for sticking around. It's been awesome. Always love seeing you guys. I'm thankful every week you're here. If this helped you, don't forget to share it out to somebody. You never know. You might have just made their fishing adventure a whole lot easier. You've been listening to Finding Demo Surf Fishing. I'm out.